continue with this, can I have a list of all the ways in which we factorize? Because that's what we're doing today. We're going to factorize in order to solve for x. So give me a list quickly of my methods of factorizing that we know. What is the first one we always look out for? There's a first one that I love for us to look for. Remember interaction? This pen is very thin. Thank you, Linomta, for getting us started. Highest common factor, or it could be a common factor or common what? Does anybody know? Common factor or bracket. But thanks, Linomta, for getting us going. Common factor or bracket. Okay, let's get a second method of factorizing. Yes, if they're perfect squares, we can do. It's called the difference of two squares or dots. So difference of two squares. Okay, or dots. Great. What's my next one? Nicely, Nomta. We have trinomials. And of course, we have grouping. So these are our options when we factorize these following questions that we're going to do here. All right. Now I'm just going to highlight highest common factor because that is always the first thing that we look out for. All right. Let me ask this to you guys. Is it possible that one question has two methods of factorization? Is it a possibility for one question to have where we have to use two methods of factorizing in one question? Do you guys think that is possible? It's definitely possible, right? So in such cases, I am asking you to first always take out your common factor. First, always take out your common factor. It will just make everything so much easier. And I'll show you why just now. Okay. Okay, let's get going. These questions look familiar to me, but I'm hoping I didn't do them with you guys. Let's see. A, which method of factorization are we using for A? Which method of factorizing are we using for A? Let's look. Is there a common factor between x squared and x and minus 9? Excuse me. Is there a common factor between x squared and negative 9? Is there anything in common with those two? No, there isn't, right? There is nothing in x squared that we can take out in 9, right? So it's definitely not a common factor. Do we have a difference of two squares? Let's check, right? I have a difference, which is a minus, and I have two squares, which is x squared and 9. So this is indeed the difference of two squares. So let's get going factorizing. First, I'm going to open my two brackets and say equal 0, right? Now, what am I putting in these two brackets? What are my first two factors that give me x squared in both brackets? What are my two factors that are going to give me x squared in both brackets? X and x. Great, Linamta. X and x. And what are my two factors that are going to give me a 9? Which two factors are we going to use to get 9 in this case? Remember, 9 is also squared. Nicely number 3 and a 3. Great. Now, remember, in our two brackets for difference of two squares, we always use opposite symbols. All right, so one has to be positive and the other one has to be a negative. Now, if you think about it carefully, that is the only way we can get a negative 9. Because what happens when I multiply a positive and a positive? What am I going to get? A positive times a positive is going to give me a positive answer. And what about a negative times a negative? That's also going to give me a positive answer. So the only way we could get a -9 is that one of my brackets had to be positive and one of them had to be negative. I hope that clarifies it for you guys. Okay, just in case you want to remember nicely and properly. Okay, now we have our two factors and they're equal to 0. The product is equal to 0. Now, what do we do with these two brackets? Remember, for this statement to be true, x plus 3 times x minus 3 is equal to 0. For that to be true, it's either x plus 3 is equal to 0 or x minus 3 is equal to 0. So we say exactly that. We say for this statement to be true, either my first factor, which is x plus 3, is 0, or my second one, which is x minus 3, is 0. Okay. Now let's solve for the first one over here. How are we going to get x on its own? How am I going to get x on its own for that first one? Let's speak, guys. I know you know the answer. We want x to be on its own on the left-hand side. That means what needs to happen with this positive 3 over here? Nice, Bongo Musa. So that means positive 3. We take it over and do the inverse operation. So then it will be x is equal to 0 minus 3. And then my final solution, therefore, x is equal to, what is 0 minus 3? 0 minus 3 will just give us a -3. So that's solution 1. Right? Or let's solve for the second x, the one I am now highlighting yellow. Once again, to get it on its own, I have to move this -3 to the right-hand side. And when -3 goes over to the right-hand side, it becomes what? It becomes what? Nice. 0 plus 3. So then my second solution is x is equal to positive 3. Okay, guys, are we good? Hopefully we all saw what happened there. Welcome to the people who've joined after I greeted. I see you guys. Let's get going. Let's work with B. And actually, I'm going to put B right next to A. Okay, B says x squared plus 3x plus 2 is equal to 0. All right, so we know we're going to have to factorize this. I said you always check if there's a highest common factor. Is there a highest common factor between x squared, 3x, and 2? Is there anything we can possibly take out as a factor between those three? What do you guys think? Anyone? X squared, 3x, 2. No, thank you. No, there isn't, right? So we're definitely not going to use the common factor. All right, my second option is difference of 2 squares. Difference of 2 squares. Do we have 2 terms in this case? Do we have 2 terms here? X squared? No, we don't. So it's not difference of 2 squares, okay? Third option is trinomials. Is this a trinomial? Is this that we are looking at a trinomial? Yes, it is. So we are going to use that method of factorization. It's a trinomial and x has an exponent of 2. So we already know we're going to use the trinomial method. Great. Let me open my brackets. Let's see if we remember these ones. We start off with x squared. What are my 2 factors that could give me x squared? 2 factors to get x squared in each bracket. What do I put here and here? X and x. Nice, lovely. Now, according to my trinomial, this symbol over here, what will my first symbol inside my bracket be? First symbol in the bracket, according to the first symbol in my trinomial, it will be a positive. Okay, now for those wondering where we got positive, it's just the same one. So if the first symbol is a plus, you put a plus in the bracket. If the first symbol is a negative, you put a negative in the bracket. Okay, now, does that plus mean I'm going to keep or change my second symbol? It means keep. So then my second bracket will have which symbol? If I am keeping, then my second bracket will have also a positive. Nice, guys. Okay, let me write my notes here for those who may not have been at those lessons. If you have a plus, it means you keep. If you have a negative, it means you change. Now, what are we keeping and what are we changing? When we say keep or change, we're referring to this symbol over here, right? It is currently a positive. So my first symbol says keep that one. So I am keeping it. If my first symbol was a negative, then this one would also be a negative because it says change. Okay. Now 2 only has 2 factors, which are 1 and 2. And do these add up to 3? Let's see, positive 1x plus 2x. This is indeed 3x. So that means my 2 brackets are correct. Yes, Leonardo. All right, let's split them up, okay? So either x plus 1 is equal to 0 or x plus 2 is equal to 0. Let's solve for my first x that I'm highlighting purple over here now. I have to move my 1 over, and 1 moves over, it becomes what? Then I have x is equal to 0. Is it plus 1 or minus 1? It's negative. Good, now. Minus 1. Therefore, thank you, Lenopta, also x is equal to negative 1. Or my second solution for the x, I am highlighting blue. If we take over this positive 2 to the other side, I have a x is equal to 0. Is it plus 2 or is it minus 2? Yes, thank you, minus 2. So therefore, x is negative 2. Those are my 2 solutions. I am done. Okay, before we move any further, can I have a thumbs up, thumbs down on A and B? Because C is just like A and B. It's actually just like B. So if you don't understand B, then you're going to be very lost for C. Great, guys. I see those thumbs up. Not nearly enough of them. There we go. Nice. That's better. All right. Let's look at C. It says x squared minus 3x minus 28. So it's x squared minus 3x minus 28. I'm hoping as we do these over and over, your brain is sort of getting used to it. And you're like, oh, this is legit. It's not that bad. I can do it, right? I knew that from the first time we did this a couple of weeks ago. But, you know, for some of us, we still need to like practice and reel it in. Is equal to 0. Great. First factors, first terms in both my brackets, factors of x squared. And what are my factors of x squared? X and x, thank you. Now we have different symbols this time, so maybe this is a chance for everyone who was lost to see how it works. I have a negative this time, right? So that means what will my symbol inside this bracket be? If I have a negative, then the symbol inside my bracket will be a what? a negative. Beautiful. And does that negative tell me to keep or change that second symbol? Change it. So what will be my symbol in the second bracket then? If I am changing my second symbol, then in my brackets, I have to write a positive. That is beautiful. Great. Now let's look at factors of 28 that add up to -3. Okay. 1 times 28 are the first set of factors. What else? 2 times 14. 3 times nothing. 4 times 7. 5, 6. That's all of them. Okay, now we have to choose a pair between these 3 that are going to give me a -3 if I add them up. Now, you need to remember that one of these numbers are going to be negative and one of these are going to be positive. But if you think about it, will 28 and 1 ever give me a -3? 28 and 1, is there ever a possibility to get -3 no matter what I do to those two numbers? Do you guys think I can get a -3 from 28 and 1? No, I can't. And Lenomta has already told us that the two factors that will give us -3 is 4 and 7. Now, I told you we have different symbols over here. We have a negative and a positive. Which of these has to be negative? Nice. No, it has to be a -7 and +4 because let's do our check. Right? If I have -7x plus 4x, what's -7x plus 4x? -7x plus 4x. Integers, this will give me -3x. Is -3x what we were looking for? Look at my middle term of my trinomial. Yes, it was. So that means my two factors are correct. Okay, so now we have our two factors equal to 0. That means either the first bracket, which is x minus 7 is 0, or my second bracket, which is x plus 4 is equal to 0. Okay, let's get x on its own. -7 goes over. What does it become? -7 as it goes over, it becomes a +7. Therefore, my first solution is x is 7. Or +4 goes over. What happens when +4 goes over? Becomes a -4. 0 minus 4. Therefore, my second solution is x is equal to -4. Okay. I don't think it's necessary we do both D and E. So I think we just need to do E. Let's do E. 4x squared minus 16. Minus 16 is equal to 0. Okay, lovelies, tell me what you see here. I see two possible things that we could do, but what is the method that I said we have to always start with? What did I say we always check for when we need to factorize? Out of my 4 methods, there's one that I said always check if you can do it before you move on to the others. Highest common factor. Do we have a highest common factor over here? Do we have a highest common factor? I have 4x squared minus 16. Is there anything that can go into 4x squared as well as into 16? Think carefully. What do we think? Yes, guys. What is our common factor between 4 and 16? Just the numbers. Leave the x squared alone. What is my common factor between 4 and 16? It's 4. So I can take 4 out. What's going to be left in my first term if I take out a factor of 4? What's left in my first term? Nicely, Nomten Buitumelo for spotting that. What's left is x squared because the 4 is gone. Okay, let me just write it in the division method in case you guys forgot. Okay, if you take out a number, that means you've divided by that number. So it's 4x squared divided by 4 minus 16 divided by 4. Okay, now let's write properly what's in my bracket. What happens to these two 4s that are above and below one another here? What happens with these two 4s? They will cancel each other out, right? Or divide into one another. So then I'm left with x squared minus, what is 16 divided by 4? Yes, Bitumelo, it is an x squared left over. What is left over here? Yes, it's a 4. And this is equal to 0. I forgot to write my equals 0 over here. Okay, now what do we do with this 4 guy that we have now taken out as a factor over here? Remember, I said we can take this whole bracket like it's an variable. So if I had 4x is equal to 0, how are you going to get rid of the 4 in front of the x? How would you have gotten rid of it? If you had 4x equals 0, how were you going to get rid of 4? No, be careful now. That's 4 plus x. Thanks for trying now, but do you see the difference? This is 4 times x, and this is 4 plus x. Okay, that's true, Linomta. We would have divided both sides by 4. So to get rid of this 4 in front of my brackets, that means I'm going to divide both sides by 4. What happens to these two 4s on my left-hand side over here? The 4s on my left-hand side, what will happen to them? Let me move this down. We're going to get there just now. They cancel one another out, okay? 4, 4, gone. So I'm left with x squared minus 4 is equal to 0 divided by 4 is just 0, okay? Take note, that's not the same as 4 divided by 0 because this is undefined. But this is 0 divided by 4. Great, now what does this look like? What does it look like now, guys? Which method can we use to factorize x squared minus 4? We can use this is a square, this is a square, and we have a difference, which means minus. Thank you, Lenomta. We can use dots. So I'm opening my two brackets here, equals 0. By now, we have figured that x and x are going to give me x squared, right? But what are my two factors for 4? What are my two factors to give me 4? Nice, guys. 2 and 2. And we said the only way we're going to get a negative 4 is if one of them is positive and one of them is negative. Great. We have our two brackets. So that means x plus 2 is equal to 0, or x minus 2 is equal to 0. Once again, we're going to move my positive 2 and negative 2 to the other side to get x alone. So my first solution will be, therefore, x is negative 2, or 0 plus 2, which gives me x is positive 2. Negative, I said negative and I wrote positive. That's what happened. -2. There we go. Okay, guys, let me zoom out. And while you guys are taking screenshots, I'm going to go ahead and say, can you get a thumbs up, thumbs down on all 4 of these? Thumbs up, thumbs down. If you understand, give me one of these. If you don't, give me a thumbs down. Okay, a lot of us not giving either a thumbs up or a thumbs down, so I don't know where we stand. Can I get either one of those, guys? Lenomta's even giving me a silly face. Lenomta's really enjoying this lesson. Thank you, Bongo Musa and Buitumelo. There's still a few who haven't given me a thumbs up, thumbs down, but it's okay. Okay. I'm thinking you guys are just maybe shy. While we're there, is anyone here for the first time today? Maybe that's why we're shy, nah? You can direct message me if you're very shy and you don't want everyone to see exponential equations. Great. Let's revise these, guys. What did we say about these equations when we did them? Does anyone have anything they remember from those lessons? When we do exponential equations, what is the one very, very, very big thing that we try to do here with these exponents? So just to remind everyone, we said our main goal over here is to have the same base on both sides. All right, guys, have the same base on both sides. That means we're going to change one of these sides. It's usually this side, to have the same base as the left-hand side. Now let's do a quick revision course on exponents. If I have 2 to the power of x, my x is the exponent. And my 2 is my what, guys? The 2 at the bottom, the big number, that is your what? That is your base. Okay. And then this whole thing, all of it, 2 to the power of x, is called a power. If you are new, please go look at the lessons in the Google Classroom. All right. So when we say we want the same base, if you look here, I have 2 to the power of x on my left-hand side. So now I need to change 8 to something with the base of 2. Is it possible to do that? Another thing I need to say, before we say we want the same base, you must make sure there is nothing else around your x. So if I have 2 to the power of x plus 1 times 4, first get rid of these guys. You want 2 to the power of x to be alone. Once that is the case, then you can change the other side to have a base of 2. Now, how do I change to 8? How do I change 8 to something with a base of 2, guys? 2 to the power of x. Okay, I'm going to give you an example, right? Never mind, Lenomta got it. Lenomta got it. Okay, 8 is the same as 2 to the power of 3. Now, it is possible to do trial and error and get it, right? For 8, it's a little bit like you could have figured it out. But what happens if you have a big number? Does anybody have my calculator trick again? Anyone remember it? If you don't know, these are called prime factors. I don't know if you guys remember that. Y'all used to hate it in grade 8. Okay. So you go on your calculator and you press your number. Okay, this case it was 8. And then you press equals. I know on your screen it's going to say 8. It's supposed to. That's fine. Then you press your shift button on the top left. And then you press the button that has facts at the top. That's the one with the commas and the dots. Like it has these bunch of weird symbols that I don't know what's going on at the top. If you do that, it will tell you that 8 is the same as 2 to the power of 3. And now we have the same base. So we get rid of the base. I know it seems redundant. It's like, why do we want the same base if we're getting rid of it? But listen, this is how it works, right? We already did this, but I'm revising with you guys. Okay, if I say to you, 2 to the power of something is the same as 2 to the power of 3. What does that something have to be? Maybe I should look for another analogy, right? If I say I drive my car at 30 kilometers an hour and my mom drives her car as something, right? But then I put an equal sign and I'm like, my mom and I drive the same. So then what does my mom's something have to be? Think about it. What do you think? Is this making sense to you guys? I say my mom drives a certain speed, I don't know it. And then I say to you, this is my speed. But my mom and I's speed are equal. So that means my mom's speed is what? It has to be 30 kilometers per hour. You just told me they were equal. So that means X has to be 30 kilometers an hour. Do you get it, guys? Do you get my little analogy? I'm hoping you do because we're all very quiet suddenly. Okay. So I say 2 to the power of something is the same as 2 to the power of 3. So that means something at the top, this guy over here, has to equal this guy over there. So therefore, X is equal to 3. I've had other classes that say drop the bases. You see why it's important to get the same base on both sides. Well, once you have the same base, it means the exponents have to be equal. There's no other way. Can we have a thumbs up, thumbs down on that one? Because we are awfully quiet and I'm worried that you're all just lost. For anyone who might be new, if you understand, go to reactions and give me one of these thumbs up. Hopefully they look better than my thumbs up. If you don't understand, you give me one of these thumbs down. Okay, so you guys understand why these have to be equal. It's important that we understand and not just cram. Or if you're likely not to give me any emoji that is funny. I've never given you guys a reaction. I must start adding my own reactions to these things. Okay, let's look at B. 3 to the power of X is equal. I need everyone to go on their calculator and practice finding prime factors. Okay, so you're going to press 81. You're going to press equals. You're going to press shift. And then you're going to press the fact or the comma, dot button. And I want you guys to tell me, how do I rewrite 81 with a base of 3? Nice. Nice, fun times. Did everybody else get it? Nice, guys. Do you see how easy that is? We don't have to go guess and say 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. So 3 to the power of X is the same as 3 to the power of 4. So if 3 to the power of X is equal to 3 to the power of 4, that means X has to equal what? That means X has to equal. Let me see if you guys really got it. You all gave me thumbs up. Nice. X is equal to 4. Beautifully done, guys. Let's move on to C. Now, C has a little bit of complicated stuff happening there, but it's not that bad. Is equal to 4. How do I rewrite 4 as a base of 2? How do I rewrite 4 with a base of 2? I know I want a bit. You guys could have been asking, how do I know I want a base of 2? It's over there. If you have a base of 2 on the left-hand side, you want a base of 2 on the right-hand side. Thank you, Lenomta. And now it is 2 squared, right? Now, 2 to the power of something. In this case, something has 2 terms, right? Is equal to 2 to the power of 2. Therefore, that whole something, as in the whole x plus 1 has to equal 2. Are we done solving for x for this one? Can I just leave it by saying x plus 1 is 2? No, I can't. You have to actually still solve for x. So then 1 has to move. And what happens to positive 1 when it goes over to the right-hand side? It's going to be the 2 that was already there minus 1. Thank you. Therefore, x is actually 2 minus 1, which is 1. Alrighty, guys. Now, D is going to be challenging a bit because you can't use your calculators. That whole shift fact is not going to work for D. Why is it not going to work, guys? I want my right-hand side to have a base of 5. What is my exponent going to be? If I want my right-hand side to have a base of 5, what is my exponent going to be? Anything to the power of 0 is 1. So as soon as you have a 1 on your right-hand side, that means your exponent is 0. Nicely, Nonta. So therefore, x is equal to a 0. Great. And for the last one, E, we're going to go back to our shift fact because E says 3 to the power of x minus 2 equals 729. Wait, I never addressed why your calculator can't help you here. I literally just said anything to the power of 0 is 1. So this base could have been 2, could have been 1,000, could have been 1,000,000, could have been anything. If it's to the power of 0, then it's 1. Now, how is your calculator supposed to know what the base should be? You need to put that base there. Okay. So for such questions, you're just going to have to use your brain, guys. All right, let's go back to shift fact. 729. Tell me how to rewrite that with a base of 3. X minus 2 equals, I'm going to be waiting. 789 equals shift fact. Nice. 3 to the power of 6. Did we all manage to do it on our own calculators? It's going to be a very important skill when you're in an exam. Okay. Now, in this case, my something is x minus 2 is equal to 6. So let's drop the base. So therefore, x minus 2 is 6. I still need to solve for x, so I move my 2 over to the other side. So x will equal 6. Is it plus or minus 2? Plus or minus 2? If I'm moving my 2 over, guys, it is plus 2. So therefore, my final answer is 8. Okay. Woo, almost died. All right, there you go for screenshotting. Our last 3 Thumbs up, thumbs down quickly, or any emoji. Let me try and find my emoji. I need to participate. Oh, I don't know what just happened. Oh, I found my emojis though. Haha. Did you guys see them? Hopefully you did. I don't know what's going on, guys. I keep doing this. Resume. There you go. All right. I think we have... Okay, now it's just malfunctioning. It's not me. We have time for one more. So I'm going to move down here. One of each. How's that? That's a good deal, right? So we can do C and we can do E. That's C. That's E. Okay. So let's look at C. X squared minus 5x plus 4 is equal to 0. Okay. Now let's get going. What type of factorization methods are we going to use here? Which factorization method are we going to use? I have an x squared minus 5x plus 4. That's a trinomial. Thank you, Buitumelo. So I'm going to open my two brackets. What are my first factors for each bracket that are going to give me x squared? X and x, thank you. Great, let's move on to symbols. My first one is a negative. Does that mean... No, I'm ahead of myself. That means what is my first symbol inside my bracket? What is my first symbol inside the bracket? It's a negative. And does that negative say we keep or we change the second one? Change. Change it to a what? So what's my symbol for the second bracket? Nice. You did not fall for my trap, Linomta. You are on fire. Now, 4 has a couple of factors. Okay. 1 and 4, and as well as 2 and 2. Which of these factors are going to give me a negative 5? Because my middle term is negative 5. Are we using 1 and 4 or 2 and 2? 1 and 4. And let's check. This is going to be negative 1x minus 4x, which is indeed negative 5x. Great. So then, either x minus 1 is equal to 0 or x minus 4 is equal to 0. I'm going to take my 1 over. Then I have a x is equal to 0 plus 1, which means x is 1. And on my other side, I take the negative 4 over. So then x will be 0 plus 4. Therefore, x is 4. Now, I really wanted to do E quickly because it's very interesting. What does this dot between 2 and 3 mean? What does that dot mean, guys? Is it 2, 3? No, thank you, Neil. It's a multiplication. So we have a 2 times 3 to the power of x is equal to 18. I said we don't want anything else near my x over here. So how do I get rid of a times 2? That's a very big clue. How do I get rid of times 2? I do what? divide by 2 on both sides. So that 2 can divide into 2, and I'm left with 3 to the power of x is equal to 9. And then how do I rewrite 9 with a base of 3? 3 to the power of x is equal to, how do I rewrite 9 to have a base of 3? It's going to be 3 to the power of 2, 3 squared. And now we're done, so therefore x is equal to 2. Can I have a final thumbs up, thumbs down on these two that we have done? I don't know why this thing doesn't want me to do this, but it is what it is.